What you are about to witness is the result of empty grocery aisles, brought on by the nationwide lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic. Imagine, if you will, craving dessert, yet having no access to yeast or flour. You have just entered the quarantine zone. This dark chocolate dessert contains no flour and no dairy. Today we're using almond flour, sugar, cocoa powder, baking soda, salt, some eggs, olive oil, and that homemade vanilla. Where has all the flour gone? I had a moment of panic last week because I went to 2 different grocery stores and couldn't find any flour. So I found this chocolate cake recipe that uses almond meal instead of flour. And it's also dairy-free, which is fantastic because I have a really good friend who's dairy and gluten-free. So I thought I'd try this cake. It's really quick, and we're going to start by prepping our pans. I'm using these tiny little round cake pans just because I like to make tiny desserts. And I've got a great tip for lining a round cake pan. If you take a piece of parchment paper and fold it into kind of a triangle shape, and then measure sort of to the center of the pan, cut around that mark. You've got a neat little circle that fits right in your pan. That's awesome. I'd already lined these. And because this is a chocolate cake, I'm not going to use flour because that would show up on the outside of the cake. So I'm going to dust them with a little cocoa powder. So I'm just sifting some cocoa powder into these pans, and I'll just kind of swish it around so that we get the cocoa powder catching on that. Did I say I just dusted these with olive oil first? Yeah, I smeared a little olive oil in, and then the cocoa powder is just going to collect on that olive oil. Okay, moving on. I've got 6 tablespoons of very good quality cocoa powder here, and I'm going to add half a cup of water. So this is water I've had boiling on the stove. So we're just going to stir this together. Head to the mixer. We're almost finished. This cake comes together really quickly. To our chocolate or the cocoa powder and boiling water mixture, I'm just going to add some vanilla. Set that aside. And in our mixer with the paddle attachment, I'm going to add some olive oil, sugar, and eggs. After the eggs and olive oil have mixed together for about 3 minutes, they are thick and the yolks are much more pale now. Now I'm going to slowly add in that chocolate with the mixer on a lower speed. And I'm just going to scrape all this chocolate in and scrape down the sides of the mixing bowl. Now that the chocolate is incorporated, I'm going to gradually add in the almond meal. I've mixed that with a little baking soda and salt. It came together really fast. Now I'm just going to tip this batter into the prepared pans and bake it at 325. Because I'm using smaller pans, I'm not going to use the whole 40 minutes that the recipe calls for. I'm going to check them in about 30. I don't know why I can't follow a recipe as written. Maybe should have used the pan size that the recipe called for, but I wanted to make these tiny cakes. And they came out really tall. They're going to be kind of fudgy in the center, so you, when a toothpick comes out mostly clean, just like a little bit of fudgy crumble hanging on there, they're ready to go. We're going to let them cool on this wire rack for 10 minutes. So if your grocery store is out of flour, don't panic. You can whip up this delicious, homey, fudgy chocolate cake in about an hour. It's supposed to sink in the middle like that. You want it really fudgy. And I've already checked this out. It is so fluffy and really dark chocolatey at the same time. This one's a keeper. See you next time.